It was winter when Evelyn Rhodes arrived at the Carrion Peak Hotel. She had driven through a relentless blizzard, her old Jeep laboring up the winding mountain road that seemed to vanish behind her with each fresh gust of snow. She was the hotel's new caretaker for the off-season, handpicked by the enigmatic owner, a Mr. Alcott who'd spoken to her only once by phone. "You're a writer," he'd said, his voice dry and weightless. "You'll find peace up there, solitude." Solitude was exactly what she needed. After the divorce, the miscarriage, and the loss of her publishing deal, Evelyn was a shadow of herself. Carrion Peak, cut off from civilization for 3 solid months, was either the worst idea or the best salvation she had. The hotel was a massive, Tudor-style behemoth clinging to the edge of the mountain like a fossilized beast. 4 stories high, it groaned with the wind, the ice, and its own memories. The moment Evelyn stepped through the heavy front doors, a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold crawled up her spine. The lobby was cavernous and dimly lit, with chandeliers swaying ever so slightly. An ornate grandfather clock stood silent, its hands fixed at 3:33. The air inside held a strange, damp chill, an old breath that had never quite exhaled. She explored the hotel slowly, her boots echoing on hardwood floors. Everything was polished but hollow. An empty ballroom with frozen chandeliers, a library of dust-choked books, long corridors lined with mirrors and fading portraits. She passed by room 217. Her hand hovered over the brass knob, but something clenched in her stomach and she moved on. Each night she rode in the lounge beside the enormous fireplace. The logs hissed and popped, but the heat never quite reached her bones. She began to notice things, the way shadows didn't fall quite right, or how some doors creaked open an inch and then stopped, as though listening. The worst was the elevator. It moved by itself at night, always down, always slowly. By the end of the first week, the hotel had rearranged itself in her mind. She would leave her room for the dining hall and find herself in the kitchen. She would turn left for the library and instead be standing in the servants' quarters. It was never the same twice. Her dreams became vivid, crimson halls, figures moving behind frosted glass, a child's laughter that grew into screaming. One night she woke to a whisper against her ear. He never left. There was no one there. Still, Evelyn stayed. She told herself it was all in her head, that the isolation was playing tricks. But deep down, a part of her welcomed it. There was something seductive in the madness, something familiar. Then came the morning she saw the footprints. She had just made coffee and was walking through the east wing when she noticed them, small, bare prints leading from room 217 to the grand staircase. They were wet, fresh, and they stopped at the top of the stairs. Not turned around, not returning, just gone. She followed them back to room 217. The door stood ajar. The air within was still. She stepped in, heart thundering. It was a perfectly preserved suite, velvet drapes, a canopied bed, a clawfoot tub, but the walls, those had been scratched. Long gouges dug deep into the plaster, as though something with nails had tried to claw its way out, or in. And then she heard humming. From the bathroom, she inched forward, each step drawn by a will not her own. The tub was filled to the brim. Murky water lapped at the edges. Something shifted beneath the surface. Pale, slow serpentine. A hand broke the water. Evelyn stumbled back, falling onto the rug, the breath knocked from her. The hand was small, a child's. It gripped the porcelain edge of the tub and pulled. A girl rose from the water, her eyes 2 black voids, hair plastered to her face like seaweed. "You're not supposed to be here," the girl whispered, and then disappeared, the tub now dry, the room silent once more. Evelyn ran, down the stairs, out into the snow. She didn't stop until she reached the tree line. There, gasping, she turned back and saw that the hotel windows were filled with faces. Dozens of them, watching. The next morning, she packed. She would leave, storm or not. But her Jeep wouldn't start. The engine was frozen solid. She tried the emergency radio. Dead. The phone lines, static. She was trapped. That night, the whispers started in earnest. They crept under her door, slid beneath her bed, echoed from the walls. She began seeing things, figures in the mirrors that weren't her own, doors opening into different decades, music playing from the ballroom where no one danced. Then she found the journal. It was in the library, hidden behind false spines. A caretaker's log, Dated 1952. The entries grew more frantic with each page. They won't let me sleep. The girl in the tub watches me. Room 217 is the heart of it all. He walks the halls now. The man with the bleeding eyes. The final entry was just a smeared handprint and a single word. Mine. That night she bolted her room. But at 3:33 a.m., the clock outside her door chimed. Once, twice, 3 times. She opened her eyes and saw the shadows standing at the foot of her bed. Not one, many, watching, breathing. One of them stepped forward. He wore a bellhop uniform, soaked in dark stains. His eyes bled like tar. His mouth was a perfect O, jaw slack, broken. "We never left," he rasped. The walls trembled. The windows cracked. Evelyn screamed. She ran again, but this time the hotel changed faster. Stairs turned into ramps. Doors opened to brick walls. Her reflection screamed before she did. The mirrors shattered behind her. She fled to the ballroom. It was filled with ghostly dancers, twisting, spinning. Music blared from an unseen orchestra. The chandeliers bled. At the center of the dance floor stood the girl from the tub. "He's awake now," she said. And then Evelyn felt it. Not cold, not fear. Hunger. Something had noticed her. She ran for the basement. The cold there was absolute. The air did not move. The walls were stone and the lights flickered dimly. Here the hotel kept its secrets. She found the furnace room, and behind it the truth, a stone circle, old, ancient, carved with symbols that pulsed with red light. Bones stacked high around it. A gateway. He stood at its center. Not a man, not anymore. A thing in a human shape, skin like cracked marble, eyes bleeding down his cheeks, a mouth that spoke in screams. He looked at Evelyn and smiled. "You made it," he said. "The hotel chose you. It always chooses." She stumbled back. "Why me?" "Because you see. Because you break. Because you belong." The room shook. Shadows poured from the circle. The walls screamed. The hotel groaned. Evelyn ran. She climbed. She burst through the lobby and into the snow. The storm had stopped. The stars were visible. But behind her, the hotel roared, a sound like the earth splitting open. She drove. The jeep started, miraculously. She didn't stop for hours, until the sun rose and the mountains were behind her. She never spoke of it again. But sometimes, late at night, she dreams of that place. And she wakes at 3:33 with the whisper in her ear. "You never left.